Howdy, howdy, y'all. This is Clara Lawrence, and I was able to get 2 videos out of my Artapalooza adventure, and I thought I'd split them up so that way I could talk about each of them individually because I used 2 different techniques but the same colors. I used all of the same colors. Anyway, so let me go back to just talk simply about the techniques I'm using. So the first video I did a split cup pour. So I used, the cup is divided into half. I used half of it whites and the iridescent interference gold, and a little bit of gold and more white. The other half of it I used all the brights that I've got that you see here. The yellow, the mango, the pink, and the violet. And 3 of those colors are fluorescent, so they're super, super bright. This time I'm using straight dirty pour. I did the base white and I started layering up a little bit. I believe it was interference gold in there, maybe a touch of gold, but went in with the purple and the pink and the orange and yellow. And I usually try to line them up in ways that I know the purple will blend nicely into the pink, pink nicely into the orange. So I think of that as the way of when it pours out and it wants to blend together naturally, that you'll get colors that blend nicely together. Because if you don't, and I put that yellow right next to that purple, you could get mud. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to think ahead of time. So at any rate, I've got my colors in my flip cup that I'm ready to do. And I'm putting my skin coat of resin down, and just barely enough resin to let the colors glide along top, and that way they move nice and smoothly and easily, and they're happy, and I'm not overworking the piece. So the other part is what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a flip cup where I basically, well, let me go back to the split cup. So when I did the split cup, I poured the paint on top of the tray. On a flip cup, you're literally taking your cup and flipping it over upside down and giving that resin a chance to come out. So boom, there it is. I did say that, didn't I? So giving my resin a chance to come down from the bottom of the cup to the tray, and I'm just patient. I'm doing some other things in the background, letting that happen. Acrylic paints, it works a lot faster. Resin, it takes a little bit more time, and that's okay. But, and then when you undo your flip cup, be prepared that you're going to move it to the side. Do an occasional line on top. Does create interesting images or effects, but usually I'll add the excess paint to the outside of it. Oh, and my white, I did want to point this out. I did titanium white. Most of the colors are just resin, but I did titanium white, but I added a little touch of the Color Passion top cell white, or was it base? I don't know. I'll have a picture at the end of the video. But it's just to encourage some of the bigger cells to come out. And in this one, some big cells do come out, and it's really a super fun piece. So all I'm doing right now is just very gently tilting this thing around. And that allows it to meet up with the 90-degree corners or the edges and give a little bit of movement to the dirty pour. And now I'm just centering it up how I want my design to go. Not a lot of manipulation, and then I'll rest it for a bit. So, as with resin, anytime you introduce new resin, I encourage you to hit it with a heat gun or torch briefly to get rid of any bubbles. And then you may have to check it periodically over the next like 10 minutes and hit it with a little bit of heat. So I debated for a while whether or not to add any gold or white to it, and I thought, I think it needs some white, it needs some division. And while I'm putting it in here, I'm kind of thinking of like going along these certain lines. I try to mimic the design that's already there. And sometimes when things are bright, a little bit of a white break in there is enough that it gives the eye somewhere to go. And I got a lot of stuff going on in this one. So I'm doing some thinking while I'm doing these little gold lines in here. And I did decide to go ahead and pour some white directly onto the piece. And what that does is it adds a little bit of extra drama to the piece. Oh, well, let me talk about what I'm doing here. Okay, so you saw like in the top part there, right where I'm at, when I started to pour, I got some big blobs in. And so what I end up doing is rerunning some lines through it to kind of break up that blob look to it or give a little bit of a smoother line. And here I'm adding my extra white. And so what I'll do is I'll put that in, let it sit for a moment, then hit it with, I do an overall heating of the resin. And so that way when I go in to manipulate, like blowing it which way or another, I'm not in there for very long. I could just do what I need to do and get out. So what I did is I blew out the white first, and then I blew the color over top of the white. So that way you can even see it right now. You start getting cells in your colors when you start moving it over the white. And that's what I want to happen, a little bit of a zing factor in there for technique and such. So I'm real happy with the way this turned out. I had 2 pieces that night that turned out pretty cool. So I did these 2 pieces, and I have to give a shout out. Tish Winters has a channel called The Artist Haven, and on Wednesday she does Artapalooza, where several artists show up, and we just do art. We have fun. There's lots of giggles and shenanigans going on, and it's a live video, so there's chat going on, and there's a lot of shenanigans going on in the chat as well. So good energy all the way around. And I'll put the link in the description also, so you can check out her show or any other shows. So that is pretty much it. I'm just going to let this settle for a little bit and get it ready to put up. Okay, now on to the technical specs. I forgot to say the resin I'm using, and it's Stone Coat Art Coat resin, which is great with art. It's my go-to resin. And the colors I'm using are mostly from Just Resin, and of course I have a little bit of Color Passion in there as well. But I'll have a photo at the end of my video so that you can see the colors that I use and their names in case you're interested, because you know, I know that when I see another person do a piece and it's like, oh, I gotta have that purple. Yeah, that's kind of one of my favorite colors there. If you know me, you know that too. But that way you can have the time to stop the video, write down the colors you're interested in and the brand names, and I'll put links in the description below for the brands and where you can get them from. And most of my colors that I add into resin, I get it from my buddies Erica and Jeff over at Artist Till Death, and you'll see that link as well. And also any of the supplies that I use, those I almost always, I'll have a couple lists of supplies either when I'm doing alcoholics or resin that I'll put at the bottom of the video. So what I'm doing here, and I want to talk a little bit about this bit here, I've got a little bit of clear resin left, and I'm kind of setting myself up for an extra project right now. So what I'm doing is I'm just pouring the rest of the clear into the different colors that I've got laying around, and I'm going to mix those up, and I've got enough color in those cups that I can actually create some more of the pink and the gold and such like that. So, but I didn't have enough clear to do a whole nother flip cup kind of thing. So, all right, you guys have a good time and enjoy the close-up. Later. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, but definitely hit the bell to get notified next time I put a video up. Later, y'all.